Hey, I hope all is going well and you're having a beautiful, blessed day. Today, I wanted to answer the question from my blog prompts. That it was a question from a couple days ago. It said, um, "What figures in history need to be celebrated?" or something to that nature. I honestly forgot to look at the question, but the figures that I think in history need to be celebrated are those within the disabled community, of course, and not only those who have gone before us, but those women and men who are doing work now. So, the women and men that I feel need to be celebrated more are Ali Stroker, who famously, I believe, broke the stereotype of what a disabled person is, and for sure what a disabled woman is. I know that I've said this before on the podcast, but before Ali won the Tony Award, we were very much limited to the idea of being like either Nessa Rose in Wicked or Laura in Glass Menagerie. Now, Nessa Rose in Wicked had a little bit more fight in her than Laura did. Um, because she actually I don't want to mess this up by saying that I've seen all of the Glass Menagerie. And I'll explain why, but I believe personally that Nessa had a little bit more fight in her um than Laura did, because Nessa actually spoke up to her caretakers, which was pretty much at the point we meet her in the show, it was only Elphaba, because going to school meant that Elfie and Nessa would essentially be on her own, and Elfie was supposed to be her primary caregiver, but we find out that it was set up that Nessa would room with Madame Warrable. Now, with all that aside, I believe that she is more tough because of the fact that she was able to open her mouth and speak up. Yes, the way the speech, the All of My Life speech, is written is very, very much from a non disabled point of view, and says that essentially that we hate our body and we hate our equipment and we wish things were different. And I gotta be honest, it is rooted in some truth. I will play the devil's advocate on that one. It is rooted in some truth because I've been there, done that, and believed that to be a successful disabled person, I needed to be inspirational by walking long distances and doing all this amazing stuff in order to get people to notice me. And if you know my story, you know. Um, and if you don't know my story and you're close to me, message me on Instagram and I'll tell you. But for those of you who don't know me, I am going to keep that private. Um, but I've learned over the years that my chair is my freedom, and the way that I show up is more beautiful and free now because I'm not pushing my body to the point where I'm huffing and puffing, where I'm introducing myself to somebody, or struggling to physically have a conversation because I'm out of breath. Um, and so back to my point. I believe when Ali won the Tony, that she broke that stereotype of Nessa Rose and Laura, because Allie, as a person, as a disabled woman, is highly, highly independent. And she essentially trained herself from day one of her disabled life to which of course is a testament to her parents as well. But from day one, when she became disabled, she trained herself daily to become an independent person, a person who was able to take care of themselves and do all this stuff within the equipment that she was given. And I know I'm going off track here, but the perception of disabled people still, it is changing, but the perception of disabled people still is that we are grasping for attention, or we want attention, or we want pity, or even worse, that we're like Laura and we are people that are made of glass, and we are not. We are tougher than that. We are so much tougher than that. We are not made of glass. And I believe, I don't want to speak for everybody, but The Glass Menagerie was written in a decade where we were very much, as a community, we were very much treated like glass. And it was written in a time when the thing to do for affluent families was to put your child who was disabled in I believe they called them sanitariums back in the day, but they were essentially homes, but they were homes where people would not be taken care of. And the thing that supposedly made Laura's mother groundbreaking was that she said, "Not my child." She kept her daughter at home with her. And that is basically the gist of the story. Her brother tells, her brother, who is the narrator of the story, tells the story of living with this sister of his. And then we also see events follow within the sister's life, including having a crush on somebody and how that went. But back to my story. Okay, so Allie broke the mold. Allie broke the mold, because that wasn't that story. Her portrayal of Ado Annie was fierce, independent, and unapologetic, and she didn't need anybody, but she knew who she wanted. So with that said, that is that. But the second person that I believe should be celebrated and talked about within our history is Chelsea Hill. She is the founder of the Rolettes Foundation, the Rolettes Dance Team, and the Rolettes Foundation, and she is just an amazing, amazing woman. She's phenomenal. She was injured when she was 17, and she didn't know what her life would be like, but through mentorship of older women from this community, she found her voice. and she found her purpose in dance. And she was a dancer when she was non-disabled. And for those of you who know this podcast well and know me, I do not use the A word. And the A word is able-bodied. I do not use that word. It makes my skin crawl. And the only time I will use that word is to say why I do not use that word. It makes my skin crawl, and I believe we are all able-bodied. We just do things in a different fashion. But please also don't confuse that with being differently abled. I don't believe in that either. I believe there is a distinction between being disabled. You're either disabled or you're non-disabled. You're not able-bodied and you're not differently abled. Because we all need to figure out at one point or another how to do the same things that non-disabled people do. And that doesn't make us any different. We all have to put our pants on one leg at a time, but the way we do it is different. And that fact does not solicit a parade or a heaping of praise because somebody put their pants on or somebody went to the store, or being called inspirational just because you're breathing. I want to be called inspirational for my work. But okay, I am going off on so many tangents. But the next person that I believe hit our history, our current history, somebody who is absolutely going to go down in history that should be celebrated, is Alicia Anderson. She hosts the podcast Pushing Forward with Alicia, and she is amazing. She is one of my sisters, and I love her so much. And I will shout her podcast out from the rooftops every day. I have to admit that I've fallen behind on listening to some episodes, but I have been listening to her episodes since day one. And this woman is fierce. She, like Ali Stroker and Ado Annie for that matter, knows what she wants, knows how to get it, and is working towards it. She owns her own company. She speaks all around the world, like legit all around the world. About the fact that we need equality. And that should not be considered special circumstances. She reminds me, she's one of the women that reminds me very much of Judy Hubid. And excuse me, my nose is kind of stuffy. And that is why I've been putting off doing this podcast, is because I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for a little bit. But my sister Alicia is somebody who reminds me so much of our community mom, Judy Heumann, who Alicia knows life before. She, very much like me, but even more than me, knows what life was like before we had any rights, before the ADA was passed. And so now, being in the post-ADA generation and being an adult in that generation, she is paving the way for younger generations to have better equality within the workplace and speaking up for those of us who are already in the workplace. But she is somebody that I love so much. And okay, so I will end this podcast with two big ones. Another person that I believe is going to go down in disabled history is Achi Angel. Achi Angel was considered the first wheelchair dancer. When after she was injured, she didn't want to stop dancing. She was a dancer like Chelsea, and she was actually Chelsea's mentor. And so after she was injured, she didn't want to stop dancing. So she found her strength to keep dancing with her chair and using the equipment that she was given, the literal equipment that she was given, to make a difference in this world and bring up people like Chelsea and be an example of strength within this life, within this community. And she also is one that completely broke the stereotypes and broke the mold of what it means to be a disabled person. And I will forever be grateful to her. I actually was going through my down period of not wanting to be part of this community when I first met Auntie. I was probably I was in my early 20s. And it was one of the first times that I went to Abilities Expo. And actually, we never actually met. But I saw Auntie talk on a panel at Abilities Expo about her show, her reality show called Push Girls. And I almost got the courage to go up to her and say hi. But then I chickened out. But I had followed her. I had followed her every single day after I got Instagram, and she was just a firecracker. She paved the way for so many people to do what we are doing within the disability dance industry. I'm not a professional dancer, but she has done so much for professional dancers and non-professional dancers that are just having fun, and people that want to have fun with it. But anyway, you guys, those are the people that I believe that should be celebrated. And this is episode, actually, I don't want to lie, but I will list it when I'm finished, when I turn off this recording. But I hope that you guys are having a great day. I believe this is episode 496. But like I said, don't quote me on that until I go back and look at my records. But we are so close to 500. And I do want to do a Q&A, and I have some questions from some of you already. And honestly, they are in my social media. So I need to go within my social media and I need to dig out those questions so I can write them in my notebook and be prepared to do the Q&A when 500 does come up. I love you guys, and I hope all is going well. Thank you so much for listening to Encouragement Notes. I know that my voice might sound a little different, but hey, I wanted to do this episode anyway, and just get it out there because I think it was a very, very important question and answer. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye.